This is the vampire squid from hell. It is not a squid or an octopus, and strangely, it is also not a vampire. But I see where it got its name. It is the ancestor of both the octopus and the squid, and was only discovered about 100 years ago. This species is classified as a cephalopod, and the scientific name of this animal is Vampire infernalis, which literally translates to vampire squid from hell. For the physical size of this thing, it has a maximum total length of about 30 centimeters, or just under a foot, so it's actually much smaller than you would think from the videos we have of it. The vampire squid gets its name from its giant eyes that can appear red based on your lighting, combined with its cloak-like web between its legs. So, this animal can be very interesting just on its current condition. This animal dates back to about 300 million years ago, and has stayed relatively unchanged over that entire time. We know this from fossils dating back more than 200 million years ago, which shows pretty much the exact same organism that exists today. Just think about that. Dinosaurs lived anywhere between 230 million years ago to 65 million years ago. Humans evolved from apes around 4 million years ago, but through all of these millions and millions of years, the species has not changed much at all. Well, how can it do this? Don't animals need to evolve to compete with predators and to adapt to the changing environment? Not this animal. It lives about half a mile below the surface, which is considered an oxygen minimum zone. You may think that this thing is also a predator because the majority of squids and octopuses are predators, but it isn't really much of one. So what does it eat? Well, you see all of those little white things floating around in the water everywhere? Those are called marine snow particles, and that is what it feeds off of. These particles come from life processes that happen at the surface. This includes animals being eaten and phytoplankton cells dying. The animals being eaten leave some debris around, and along with the dead plankton cells, they slowly fall down to the vampire squid. The vampire squid then eats it by using one of its two long filaments. Each filament has many small sticky hairs that sort of hold the marine snow if it falls on it. Then when it decides it has a good amount of food, the vampire squid pulls the string in and uses its legs to scrape off the food into a cavity made by the web-like structure in between its legs. Then it proceeds to eat it. The way that the vampire squid eats is just one of the ways that it shows how incredibly adapted it is to its environment. Some other ways it shows this is by its giant blue or red eyes, again considering the lighting, that are able to see in the dark really well. And its blood pigment called hemocyanin, which is like the hemoglobin in our blood, but holds much more oxygen. It also has many different forms of bioluminescence. Now, what if this incredibly adapted cephalopod does get confronted with a predator? Well, it's not very good at hunting, seeing as it eats marine snow all of the time, so it can do one of two things. It can whiz away using its web-like structures in between its legs, or it can invert itself to make it seem bigger or to look like something it is not. This is also more effective with the bioluminescence it has. So, this is an incredibly interesting animal that is one of the most well-adapted animals to its environment, but it is actually being affected by humans even half a mile under the surface. They are threatened by ocean warming, decreasing oxygen, pollution, overfishing, and industrialization, along with many other things. So don't kill this beautiful species that already has a 300 million year survival streak going.